Late. Back to you, Brian.
This is an ABC News special report.
Good evening. I'm Byron Pitts at New York. We're interrupting to bring you breaking news. We're learning that a small plane has gone down in the Potomac River near Reagan National Airport in D.C. Details are still limited this hour, but reports are there are a number of casualties. We believe there are 60 passengers on plane. Fire and rescue teams are on the scene along with divers. Recovery efforts are underway. Joining us now on the phone is our aviation expert, Steve Ganyard. Steve, what more can you tell us?
Byron, anybody that's been to Washington, D.C. understands that helicopters are flying around the Capitol all the time. If you've ever flown into Reagan Airport, you know as you come down the river that helicopters are flying underneath those aircraft as they're landing. So lots of helicopters in D.C., but the helicopters are supposed to stay away from the landing patterns of the commercial jets, the commercial aircraft at Reagan National. So why there was a helicopter anywhere near where a regional jet was coming in for landing is a mystery. The problem with this time of year is obviously the water is quite cold. There is ice on the Potomac most of the way up towards the Key Bridge. And so getting anybody that is still alive out of the water quickly is going to be the real key for the fire department here. But Byron, I'll tell you, some of the video that we've seen is quite disturbing, and it does appear that there was a flash, which means that this is probably going to be a very significant and very serious mishap.
Steve, thank you. Stand on line with us, please. We'll go to Catherine Falders, our ABC News senior investigative correspondent in Washington. Catherine, what more can you tell us?
Hey, Byron, I apologize. You can hear the announcements behind me here, but we're at DCA, the Washington Airport here, right in the middle of the city. And just to put this in perspective, I fly out of this airport a lot. They changed the setup of it recently. You used to be able to get closer to the water where a lot of the activity is going on. But when you walk right into this airport, you drive through the city of Washington, D.C.
We just lost Catherine on the phone. Joining us now is Aaron Katersky, our investigative correspondent. Aaron, what more can you tell us? Do we have any information about, we've reported to this point that the plane went down in the Potomac River. Do we know what led to that? All right, let's go back to Steve Ganyard. Steve, if you're still with us, what more do we know about this incident? As I said, we reported from the beginnings that a plane went down. We believe a commuter plane went down in the Potomac River.
I heard you.
And
I got you.
Aaron, is that you?
Byron, it's Aaron Katersky. There are going to be a number of suspected fatalities, as you might expect, tragically here. The authorities are still trying to get a handle on a specific number, but that we know there are rescue boats in the water. Authorities are doing all they can, but there are going to be, we're told from a number of sources, a number of fatalities after this apparent collision between the regional jet inbound to Washington from Wichita that collided with a Sikorsky H-60 helicopter.
That's a military helicopter.
It could well be. I don't have specifics more than the FAA has put out, but we know that the small plane was on approach into Reagan National when this collision occurred, and now the FAA is investigating. But the primary focus right now is on getting into the water and seeing who there is to save, and sadly pulling bodies out of the water.
Thank you, Aaron Katersky. Aaron, stay with me. The White House now has just confirmed that a military jet crashed into the commuter plane. According to the White House, it was a military jet that crashed into the commuter plane that went down into the Potomac River. Aaron, is there any expectation, I know there's certainly hope, is there reasonable expectation there will be survivors from this, or do we have any indication about that? As you said, and as Steve Ganyard also pointed out, it's almost certainly there will be fatalities, but is there any expectation that there will be survivors as well?
Byron, I think it's just too early to say. I spoke with somebody a moment ago from DC Metro Police who said they were still trying to get a handle on the situation as it is. I think it's far too early to say, but you can only hope. And we know that there are teams that are in the river already working as furiously as they can.
Hope and prayer are powerful things. Steve Ganyard, if you're still with us, what more can you add to this? I mean, it seems all of us, we've traveled in and out of D.C., and yes, there's lots of traffic, but that area traditionally has always been very buttoned down in this regard. Okay, I'm not sure Steve is with us, but just to recap, according to the White House, a military plane crashed into a commuter jet near Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. That commuter plane went down into the Potomac River. At this hour, rescue teams, firefighters, divers are in the Potomac seeking to recover what they can. The expectation is there will be casualties. We're going to return now to regular programming. We'll have a complete wrap-up later on Nightline. You can get the latest anytime on abcnews.com and on the radio, 24 hours digital channel as well. I'm Byron Pitts in New York.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
Longer versions of songs for 12.